Hello there, you're listening to The Power Movement.
Welcome to The Powell Movement. I'm your host, Mike Powell, and this week I'm taking you on a road trip to the most insane event on the planet. And when I say taking you on a road trip, that is a lie. I tried taking a road trip to Redbull Rampage last year in my brand new to me RV and ended up making it to and from Rampage, but did do about $7,000 worth of electrical damage to the vehicle during the event. I spent 40 hours driving, then a fortune in gas. Everything sucked but Rampage. The event itself was the sickest shit I've ever been to in my entire life. I've been to a ton of events, ski, snowboard, skate, bike. Nothing comes close to Redbull Rampage. Before I get into the soundbite and beer fest that Rampage was for me, I want to ask you to do a few things. First, please follow me on Instagram at The Powell Movement and tell someone about the show. Anyone, I don't care. I'd also like you to buy everything for this ski and snowboard season from Evo. They're the best shop in the country. They have all the brands, all the deals, and approachable people. I'd also like to thank my other sponsors, Spy, Stanley, and the 10 Barrel Brewery. That's enough about me and all the things I want you to do. Now it's time to cut back to myself and talk some Redbull Rampage. My flight from Seattle was a pretty uneventful one, except for one thing. During takeoff, I'm sitting there, phone in hand, and somehow I drop the phone in the aisle by accident, and it starts sliding. I turn my head and I watch my phone go in a straight line, 30 rows until it disappears under a drink cart. I'm an idiot, and luckily I get my phone back with no damage to it so I can do my interviews over at Rampage. I get to Vegas, get my rental car, and go straight to In-N-Out, get a double-double, and make the 3-hour drive to St. George, Utah. This place is pretty much a refuge of fast food and hotels in the desert for people that are going to Zion National Park. I check in at 2 a.m., get a wake-up call for 7:30 a.m., get up, get in the shower, eat a shitty hotel breakfast, and then head to my car. The weather is perfect. I'm about to drive to Virgin, Utah, and I open my backpack and realize that the 2 pairs of sunglasses that I brought with me, 2 brand new pairs of Spies, are gone. That totally sucks, as the way I operate, I don't want anybody to see my eyes, and I love rocking Spy sunglasses, and I'm lucky that Spy's gonna be at the event. Curtis and crew are there, and he has a pair of sunglasses for me. When he hands me a brand new pair, it's the Tron. This is a model I already own and one that I wear when I want to look like I came from the future. This is one of those events where I don't want to look like I came from the future, but I have sunglasses and that's all that matters. Once I get my credential, I get in line to get onto one of the shuttles that takes you out to the venue. It's about a 10-minute bumpy ride in a rock crawler that takes you to a trail that leads to Rampage. Heading into Rampage, I expected a little bit of a different vibe. The world lost a legendary person and rider in Jordy Lund a few weeks ago. I didn't know Jordy well. I met him a couple times for some interviews. He was a tough dude for me to approach based off of how he looked. He had a tattooed head and neck, some gold fangs, and when I approached him the first time, I had no idea what to expect. What I found was that he was super generous with his time and he was nice and very cool to me. Genuinely nice. It was awesome. Meeting him gave me a better understanding of why everybody loves the dude, and why it's such a huge loss that comes right before the biggest family reunion in biking. There were a lot of tears shed, beers drank, and stories told about Jordy. My thoughts go out to his family, friends, fans, anyone who had the chance to meet Jordy. There'll never be another person like Jordy Lund. So to make a tough transition from such a heavy topic, I'll talk about someone else that there'll never be another one of. And that's Josh Bender. The dude is an inspiration for this event. And if you go back in time and look at Bender's highlight reel, you'll find a dude way ahead of his time who had balls of steel. While he may not have landed everything, he sure helped product development and laid the foundation for what Rampage was going to be. Last year when I saw Bender for the first time, I was almost starstruck. I didn't know him at all, but know his reputation and his history, and for some reason I was nervous. It was like meeting Seth Morrison all over again. This year, not as nervous at all, and I got a few minutes in with Bender. You were known for going huge just about everywhere you went. What are some of the features that you see here that you're like, God, that's got my name fucking written all over it?
It's the entire hillside, pal. The entire hillside has my name written all over it. Cause, you know, being Bender, fastest way to the bottom is a straight line or in the air. So just jump the entire mountain, and I'll see you at the bottom for beers.
When you come here and you're watching these guys build and you're getting everybody stoked and you're working the event, do you miss being a part of the actual contest?
No, because if you think about it, I'm the essence of the entire contest.
You are.
I mean, in all reality, it's been an interesting year, dude. Lots of things have happened before Rampage 2019.
Yep.
And it seems like all the riders, I wouldn't say are growing up and maturing into wonderful adults, but things in their life have come to light that make them realize what's really important. And Rampage, it's turned into a family affair, and everybody will tell you that. I mean, you come here and you see everybody that you haven't seen in 1 year. Everybody gets together, has a great time. We get banger shots, and that lasts for the entire year, and it builds momentum. So no, I'm part of the contest, but I'm not contest.
Okay. And last question, when you think of this event, it's been going on for a long time. It's still maintained the essence of what Rampage is. How have you guys been able to keep it real and not sell this thing out?
By sticking to our guns and doing what we, as creators of creating Red Bull, have wanted it to go. I mean, there's certain things that we can't control, but the rawness and the big mountain aspect of it, I don't think can be replicated.
So that was a legendary dude in Bender. And one thing I realize is when I talk about Rampage, I don't really give many details about what the event is. I just say it's the most insane, crazy bike event in the history of the world, and there's no action sports event that compares to it. But as I was walking the venue, I saw Derek Westerlund of Freeride Entertainment, also instrumental in making this event happen, and I asked Derek to give a little insight into what this event actually is. So one thing I haven't done a good job of is explaining exactly what Rampage is. So we know it's a crazy mountain bike event, but to these athletes, so how does it work? Once you get selected, you have to pick how many people to help you dig.
Each rider can have 3 diggers, up to 3 diggers, and they get to come out and check in basically a week ago. They get to build for multiple days, and their first day of riding becomes Monday when they can actually ride. So when you get to a new venue, year one's always really hard because you got to scope your lines, you got to try to build. It's a much bigger process. Year 2, these guys can come back and really dial it in, and you know, whatever they weren't able to ride last year, whatever gave them trouble, you know, other vision they had that could be done, but they just didn't have enough time. Now what we're seeing here this year, our second year at this venue, is these guys getting it really dialed in. They were officially able to start coming out to the venue 9 days ago. So they would be able to dig right up until this minute if they had to. But the idea is you get your line built and then you practice, hit your big jumps, dial it in. You don't want to ride too much. You'll never see these guys sit there hot lapping this. You get it dialed in and you do it once. This is for all the marbles. Like, this is the pinnacle of any action sport and one of the riskiest, highest consequence events on the planet.
You're getting guys digging for 60 hours, then guys sessioning features. And what are they going for? What's the big prize here? How much do they win? First place, what do you walk away with?
Man, you're asking me all these questions that I really don't know the answers to. I should put you in touch with someone that does.
They never want to answer my questions. That's why I ask you.
Oh, there you go. Well, geez, I wish I could tell you. I don't even know what the prize purse is. I think it's like, I don't even know anymore.
What do you think? I just want to hear your guess.
I know it's a substantial amount of money broke out through all the riders. You know, when you come out here, it's like you're putting your life on the line, and, you know, it's not about money. These guys are really motivated to do this. And because this is such a community and such a tight-knit scene, the vibes are really good. People are very supportive. It's not like you're looking across at your enemy, you know. You want everybody to be safe, come down safe. You want everybody to nail all their tricks, and may the best man win.
Always good to see Derek. I did steal a ton of his beer throughout the event. I didn't ask him. Sorry about that, D. I owe you when you're back in Seattle. but I hadn't started drinking yet. From there, I started walking around Tent City to see if I knew anyone else at Rampage, but I don't know that many people in the bike world, so I decided I should get to work. And I headed up on course, and the first person I saw was Nitro Circus's Dusty Weagle.
All right, Dusty, you've been here a couple days in Virgin, Utah, and how's the build been going from what you've seen?
Man, the stuff I've seen, like just the sheer manpower that's going down on the hill here is incredible. Like, there's all these huge questions about how the pyramids were made. I don't have any questions. The amount of earth that is moved by a few people here in Virgin is incredible.
Based on being here a couple days and seeing people build their lines and actually start hitting their lines today and yesterday, well, whose lines are sticking out to you that you've seen?
Man, well, there's about 21 of them. Man, actually, yesterday I saw a handful of guys tee up kind of their biggest features and, like, get them knocked out, and that was insane. Like, I watched Kyle Strait and Simon Godziak kind of nailed, like, maybe one of the biggest features on the whole mountain and just cleaned it so good. T-Mac yesterday pretty much just lined up everything on his run and did it perfect, and now he's just gonna start dialing in like the tricks. And Reed Boggs added a huge drop to his line. All of those are standing out to me at the moment, but now we're the day before the event, and a few more guys have finally like dialed in their line, and it's kind of just getting going here in the morning, so we'll see who by the end of the day is really kind of making a mark. I don't know.
Have you noticed anyone who hasn't gotten close to finishing their line yet and they're freaking out trying to get it ready for tomorrow?
I haven't seen anyone freaking out, but I'm sure they are. The new guys, there's 4 guys this year that didn't have a line, being a second-year event. So a few of them teamed up, and they took on a really ambitious build on the Looker's right of the hill. So Reese Wallet and Emil Johansson and Reed Boggs have this humongous plum drop on the Looker's right that's been pretty crazy, and I don't think it's finished and no one's hit it yet. And that's like kind of the cherry on the cake for them. So I'm sure they're a little stressed to get that done before tomorrow.
Do you think we're going to see the level of tricks and everything step up now that everybody's comfortable with the venue, if you can be comfortable with this?
Yeah, I don't know. I may be as comfortable as you can be with facing potential death, but I think the lines are looking way more dialed in and like a lot more aggressive than the first year. There's just only so much digging you can do in a week. So barring weather, I think the trick level and just the sheer intensity of the riding is going to up the ante in a huge way this year.
After I got done talking with Dusty, we were watching Brett Rheeder, last year's Rampage winner, work on his line. And while watching, Brett's family is there, all looking up at the venue. There is one woman who will not watch Brett take his practice runs. That happens to be Brett's mom, and I decided to ask her a couple questions.
Your son won Rampage last year. Pretty amazing. As a mom, how does it feel to see your kid enter an event like this? You can speak.
Yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking, even though we won it. It's never easy to watch your kid come down a mountain like this, so I have nerves.
He's done a ton of other contests, done really well at them. Are you more comfortable seeing him in a slope-style situation where he's doing crazy tricks, or in a situation like this where he's trying to get down?
I'm not comfortable with any of it. But honestly, I think I can probably handle the slope style better than this. I've been up top, and you have no idea until you're up there what it's like. I couldn't even imagine riding a bike down.
There's 1% of the world that can, and you produced one of them, so congratulations.
I can't imagine if my child were to be in this event, how I would feel. Yes, I'm sure there'd be a sense of pride, but the features that these guys are hitting, to see one of your offspring do that has to be quite scary, also quite rewarding. Like, hey, I produced a fucking badass. At this point, it is time to billy goat my way up to the top of the venue. From bottom to top, it's about a 25-30 minute hike to the top of the venue. It's not an easy hike at all. And when you get to the top and you look down and you see how steep everything is, you realize how gnarly this course is. Because at the bottom, yeah, you can get that vibe and understand that this is life or death. Every line has a little bit of life or death to it. But when you get to the top, you feel like there's a little bit more death than you thought at the bottom, because the terrain is as big as it gets. I spent about an hour up top and realized I'm not going to get any interviews on course because riders aren't worried about interviews when they're on course. They're worried about their lines. So I headed back down to Tent Village and made my first of many friends throughout the weekend. Jeff Nicholas runs things over at the YT tent. He's got a lot of beer. He's offering me some of that beer. And while I just said no at 11 a.m., it is now 1 p.m. and I'm just going to say yes. Jeff gives me a beer and I run into one of the Spaniards at the event, Bienvenito, and I get a few minutes with him.
We're a day before the event. We are over here at the YT booth and you're getting your bike worked on. Sounds like you're having a little brake issues and they're going to tune it up for you. Is that something that gets in your head at all, or is it something you just get fixed?
I mean, I'm a guy who really believes on the way the brakes are working because I'm a front flip guy. So,
Yep.
And I use my brake, especially what I want to do here. I need the brakes working properly. They need to be on the exact same spot every time I hit them, and sometimes it's hard. And if it's a bit softer, that means I maybe under-rotate or something, which is not so cool.
Well, we talked last at the Proving Grounds, and you punched your ticket to come here to Rampage. And what does that mean to you? I mean, I know it's important, but what does it mean in actual what you have to do? Do you have to figure out who your diggers are going to be, pay for them to get over here, get lodging? What goes into planning for Rampage?
I mean, the first thing is I'm here for fun, because I really want to ride everything it's possible in the world, and I think that's the main goal, that you can ride. And yeah, I had 10 days to organize myself. I needed to figure it out so much stuff in 10 days. I mean, I was 8 hours per day on my phone, grabbing everything. The rental, the Airbnb, the bike, all the new gear, my shippers, my flights, my shaper flights, my filmer. So it was a bunch of stuff to do in a short amount of time. So I guess I paid 30% extra for everything. Because I wanted to come earlier, but it was not possible without paying $2,000 per flight, which means just for flights, way too much money. But I made it enough to do 2 days of riding, and that was cool.
You end up putting out a good deal of your personal money to come here with your team?
Actually, I have support, and Rampage also helped us.
Okay.
But yeah, at the beginning, I spent all the money I had in my bank. Luckily, I have some more, but my cash went down pretty quick because I had to figure out so many things at the same time. I think I spent $6,000 in 2 days before even coming here.
Jesus.
But it's okay. I mean, it's part of the game, and it's worth it.
So your build's done. We're the day before the event. Have you gotten through your whole line yet? Have you hit every feature?
Only one feature left, which is at the top. We were fixing it this morning, and I wanted to hit it yesterday, but it was windy, so we had time to make it a bit more safe. And I'm ready to hit it. I just want to eat something, relax a bit, getting focused, and go up there and hit all the line one go.
Bienvenito gets his brakes dialed in. I'm sipping on some ice-cold refreshments, and this is the perfect time for me to jump into my first set of sponsors. Evo has been supporting the Powell movement since day one. Evo was founded by pro skier Bryce Phillips almost 2 decades ago, and from day one, Evo has been focused on making sure you have what you need for your adventure. I've been shopping at Evo since they opened their doors, because they really are the best shop in the country, in-store or online. They have all the brands. The people that work there are approachable, knowledgeable, and fun. The website, evo.com, is best in class, and their stores in Denver, Portland, Whistler, and Seattle are all worth a visit, especially if you like to check out cool historic buildings. Evo saves buildings and does so much more for their local communities. Online, they offer free shipping on orders over $50, a no-hassle return policy, and a low price guarantee. When you're in the market for gear, outerwear, accessories, please make sure you buy everything from evo.com this winter or pop into one of their stores for some cool art, retail, and human interaction. Next up, it's Stanley. They are the brand that invented the keep things hot and cold category back in 1913, and they are located down the street from my house in Seattle. You remember Stanley from that green bottle that kept your grandpa's coffee hot all day long. They still do that, and so much more. When I think about Stanley, it's all about water bottles and pint glasses. The water bottle is a simple, classic Stanley style that keeps my water cold for a couple more hours than whatever you put your water in. The pint glass keeps my beer ice cold way longer than I need it to, and the beveled edge makes me hydrate faster for some reason. It just feels good, and you're going to want to feel good too. To do that, head on over to stanley-pmi.com. Go shopping, and you will get 30% off your entire order when you use the code TPM30. That's all one word, the number 30. When you check out, you'll get that 30% off. Everything you buy helps support the show, so please do that. Now we're going to jump back into the podcast. Rampage is one of those events that brings all different types of athletes out to the desert because they've read the coverage, they've seen it online, and they hear that you can't really replicate what Rampage is unless you see it in person. I was a first-timer last year. I know how impressive that is, and I look to my left and I see Jonny Collinson, who's experiencing Rampage for his first time.
So I look over and I see a dude in a Red Bull hat with a camera, and I'm like, it looks like Jonny Collinson, but he shouldn't be at a bike event. And what brings you to the sickest event in the world?
I mean, the sickest event in the world brings me out here. It's insane seeing what these guys are building and doing out here.
How long have you been here?
A week, just over a week.
So you've gotten to take it all in and see the huge drops?
Yeah, I got to see all the guys digging, improving their lines from last year, putting in new features, and start to ride it. It's been sick.
And I was talking to one of the guys earlier, and I was like, you know, if we took skiers and we put them in a zone and we gave them a build crew and said build jumps, they'd be like, fuck you. We're not going to do that. It's a totally different world here. Do you see a different mentality from the bikers than what you see in skiers?
Yeah, definitely. It is kind of crazy, the difference between the two. It's cool for them to be able to create something that suits their style versus, like, with skiing, you know, we look for different types of terrain to suit our style versus building it out ourselves.
Yep. And you are coming off a knee injury. I've seen you, a lot of your Instagram, just all abs and working out.
Yeah, doing a lot of picking stuff up and setting it back down. But feels good to be hiking around and seeing action sports go down, you know.
When will you be back 100%?
I'll be back a hundo in, like, February.
Okay, so perfect lining up for the season for you, so you'll be good.
Totally, yeah. Just kind of get back on snow, cruise around, kind of take a mellow winter this year, so I'm psyched on that.
Good catching up with Jonny. I'm going to get him on the podcast at some point. I get done with Jonny, head over to the porta potties, step out of the porta potty, and the first person I see is another person who has been on the show, someone who has the most unique upbringing of anyone I've ever talked to, Casey Brown.
Casey is washing her hands. I just peed as well. I'm going to wash my hands after you. And I was surprised. A lot of people are walking away from the bathrooms here because it's a foot pump, but you're always clean here.
Yeah, I try and keep my hands clean. There's a lot of sick people around.
This is a weird event where people have been on IVs. There's been a lot of athletes that have gotten the sickness.
Yeah, there's a lot of people with the flu. I mean, there's people all stay in the same houses and stuff just spreads like wildfire. So hygiene is key out in the desert.
Last time I saw you, you weren't able to fold your arms like you are folding them right now. How are you doing?
I'm doing better. I'm 6 weeks past my crash and getting there. And
Did you re-break the collarbone or no?
No, they misdiagnosed it. So I learned that I had a broken collarbone 2 weeks after the fact. So I hadn't been putting in a sling or anything like that. So the healing process has been a little difficult, like a little longer, and also the joints still dislocated. So yeah.
Do you blame that on Canadian doctors?
No, I think they were more worried about my liver when they were looking at me on the CT scan because I had a bruised liver and some internal bleeding, and they wanted to make sure that was okay. And I guess they didn't think to check the broken collarbone.
When do you get to be back to Casey Brown?
I think I'll get on my bike next week, and yeah, you'll see me recovering over the winter and getting back at it. And
what do you do in the winter?
I'm on my bike as much as I can be, but I love winter, so I do at least a couple weeks of winter sports as well.
How many days do you get on the hill each year?
I used to try and get 30 a year, and now I'm down to like 5.
After I talked to Casey, Bienvenito came back after he tested his brakes.
All right, dude, you just got back down. Your brakes were messed up earlier. How's everything now?
Now it's working. I did top to bottom. I'm so stoked on it. The brakes are on point now. Yeah, I have such a good feeling now. I'm going to drink some water, calm down a bit because I'm so excited.
Yeah, you look a little jittery.
And go for some practice at the bottom jump.
Okay, just figure out the end of your line.
Yeah, I want to put a trick. I'm going to practice it now.
So Bienvenito sounds a lot more confident than he did last time I saw him. His bike is dialed in. I continue my hydration at the YT tent. And the next person to walk by is Tom van Steenbergen.
So last year you ended up with best trick here, and it was insane. This year I would think you want to put together a full line and end up on the podium. I think that's the goal. How's your line and your build been?
Yeah, it's really good. It's a lot safer than last year. Last year was a little sketchy. All the big dogs were super snipey. But this year we have a lot more landing, and yeah, I feel really good about it.
Have you had a chance to hit all the features in your line yet?
Yeah, this morning I hit everything a couple times, and wind is supposed to be good all day, so I'm going to go up, have another evening sesh, and then, yeah, feel good for tomorrow.
And you've been in this zone a few different times. Does it make it any easier, or is it still the same thing every year? Holy shit.
Yeah, the guinea pigging process doesn't get easier, but the fact that we have 2 years of building on our same features definitely helps out.
Are you sharing any features with anybody, or is it your own line?
Yeah, I'm sharing the 2 biggest features with Sorgi and Aggie, and then also the bottom jump with them as well.
When you figure out who's going to guinea pig that, how do you figure that out? Your youngest?
Yeah, I guinea pigged it, but it didn't really help them out because I was up there by myself, and they went from the top and just worked their way down together. Yeah, we didn't really talk about it much, but it worked out for all of us, so I'm stoked.
At this point, a lot of the riders are starting to make their way down, and this is where I'm going to get a chance to get a lot of good interviews. The next person to be ambushed by me is Cam Zink.
How's your health? Last year you were here, you had a shoulder problem, you built out your whole line, and you weren't able to ride, which is a bummer and frustrating. How are you feeling this year?
I feel awesome this year. It was the missing link, and then I got it fixed, and now we're here a year of rehab, or 11 months, and I'm feeling as strong as I could ever be. But it just took a hard hit up there. My right shoulder was hurting, and I'm like, all right, well, means the left one's good at least. But it's just a brutal sport, and no matter what, we're always riding in a little bit of a deficit, you know? So there's always something that's just a little chinked up, but I feel great.
Does your line change completely this year, or are you able to work off of what you did last year and kind of fine-tune it?
Definitely want to work off what you built. It's kind of a 2-year process anyway. Usually first-year builds are gnarly. There's always something that gets left a little raw or a little unfinished. So this year we were able to have a lot easier digging and finish everything completely and add a drop in the middle. Other than that, it's essentially the same line. I've ridden it all now, got to ride most of it last year, and then ready for a game day tomorrow.
You've been doing this for a long time. As you get older, does anything change in your head when you're building a line? Do you think about consequences more in your age, or you just send it?
I mean, that's always there, and I wouldn't be doing it if I thought that the likelihood of getting hurt was far exceeding the success rate, you know? So none of that's really changed. You slow down a little bit, but I think it's more slowing down due to taking precautions and planning things out better and taking more test runs or using all the time necessary, you know, because there's a fine line between being the tenacious young 18-year-old that just goes off of everything and without really thinking much because you're ready to go and not, I wouldn't say scared as much, but just like ready to rip, you know. And then now being 33, been through it all and learned a lot. And if I was 33 and didn't learn anything, the years would be a waste, obviously. So just try to learn from it, but not take a back seat really, or not let it get to you to where it inhibits your performance. You only take the time to prolong it to actually ride better and have less chance of injury and ride your own pace, I guess.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you and good luck.
Cheers.
So I was able to raise the bar a little bit by getting a couple minutes of Cam Zink's time. As I'm hanging out, I notice that there's a Spanish guy and an American guy trying to have a conversation, but total language barrier going on. I find out they're Bienvenitos diggers.
So you're Bienvenitos diggers, and it's funny because one of you is from Barcelona, one of you is from Tahoe, and you guys have a total language barrier, and you're the 2 diggers out there. How are you communicating?
When we first flew here on Monday, he had no English at all. And then within the past 2 weeks, I just kept trying to teach him words and just slowly talk to him. And he's figuring it out really quick. So slowly I just see they talk in Spanish the whole time while I'm kind of just standing aside, like trying to figure out with their hands, like movement. And we slowly just figured out to kind of speak English, and I can understand some of their Spanish words.
And were you scared or nervous coming to America and not knowing the language at all?
No, I don't speak English. Yeah, you know.
Were you scared? Were you nervous?
What?
Scared?
No comprende? Did you come here? And
I don't understand now.
So when you come to America and you know comprende English,
well, a little bit, but 2 weeks later, 2 weeks after.
But these are all new words for you. Everything is new.
Yeah, you don't even know what I'm saying, and that's amazing.
But he figures some words out.
Yeah, he's already speaking English. Your English is better than my Spanish.
We figured it out. We built a line for BMV, and it's done. And we were able to make it work.
Have you had a chance to see the other lines here that other people have?
Yeah, I didn't walk all their lines, but when you're hiking up the mountain to get to our line, you could see someone's drop or some crazy shoot that's going on.
If everybody lands their run, who do you think's going to win?
I mean, it's like everybody, honestly. You know, everybody built the craziest lines out here, and it's just a matter of stomping that line and getting to the bottom.
So let's imagine everyone stomps that line and gets to the bottom. Whose line do you think wins from what you've seen?
I think Andreu's got a pretty insane line. He's got like everything, big jumps, crazy shoot, and the tricks that I've heard that he wants to throw down, they seem definitely like it's got a lot of potential.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Gracias. Sorry. Based on what the diggers are saying, Andreu's line is one that is going to be hard to beat if he's able to make it all the way through. So next thing I need to do is find Andreu and talk to him about his line and everything he's thinking around this contest. So Andreu, you're not a contest guy. I mean, judge run-wise, you come here. And why do you want to come here and you don't really do any other contests?
There's no other contest like this, you know? Like the other comps, they're not like really what I'm riding when I ride for fun. So this is kind of the stuff I like to ride, and it's sick that Red Bull hooks it up and puts it together, and it's a good one.
And where else are you able to ride terrain like this? You don't live in the States, you travel the world, and are you able to find places like this to ride?
It's hard to find a spot like Utah, you know? Utah is like pretty much, I think, the easiest place to build and ride your bike. So that's why Rampage is here, I guess. And yeah, back home we got a few spots, and we're just pretty much on the road all year, just finding locations and riding similar stuff, and yeah, it's fun. It's a good time.
You got a beer coming right here.
Thank you,
that is
sir.
Jeff delivering.
Modelo. Thank you, guys.
Coming into a contest like this last year, you placed second in this, and you look at judging as it's totally subjective. Were you upset when you didn't get first last year, or was like,
no,
is that what you deserved?
Yeah, I mean, it's a judged sport, so I'll do my thing, you know. I come here to like build a line and ride it, and that's all I can do. And the rest is not in my hands, so they can do whatever they feel like they need to do, you know. Like, we come here to do our thing, and if they like it, it's sick, and if not, we're probably going to be stoked with it, and yeah, it's good. It's always good to win, but sometimes, you know, it's so close that, yeah, a little trick, missing a little thing can just, you know, be the difference between first and second. But yeah, hopefully this year we can put it together, see what happens.
Do you ever talk to the judges beforehand, or you not think about them, build your line, and if they like it, they like it?
Yeah, well, here we kind of play with the judging. We know that it's a judged event, so there's a few things that we pretty much just do for the comp, you know. There's like a few step downs that I would not flip probably for fun. I would just do like a whip or a scrap or something that I think it's technically way sicker. But flips and spins, it's whatever scores the most, so it's what we got to do here.
With sponsors and everything, with you not being a traditional contest guy, you focus on video parts and you focus on Rampage. Do they want you to do anything else, or are they just stoked with what you're doing now?
Yeah, I guess they're stoked. Yeah, we're just having fun on the bike, and yeah, for me, I think videos and doing our own projects, it's the best way to do it. And yeah, it's good to be able to have support to do your ideas, you know, instead of just being on someone else's idea. And it's cool to like be able to like find your own path and just do it.
Things are starting to wind down at the Rampage compound at this point. It's about 4:30, 5 o'clock. Riders are coming into the pits, and I want to get a couple more interviews before the day is done. I see Tyler McCaul, and I beeline it over to him to get a couple words. So Tyler, you've moved to Utah now. Are you Mormon?
That's a funny question. Mormons are chill as fuck. I lived around a bunch of gangbangers in Santa Cruz. Mormons mind their own business. They're not going to steal my stuff.
Did you move here because this event, and has it been elusive enough where you want to move here and just focus on the terrain here?
I moved here just because I love it here. There's freedom, there's no traffic, like cost of living, everything. There's adventures everywhere, and the riding's top notch, and you can't beat it.
Do you feel like you have an advantage being here for a while and being able to ride this terrain, or are you not riding this gnarly shit every day?
I don't think it hurts, for sure. I feel really good on my bike. Yeah, people keep asking, like, oh, did you move there just so you can train for Rampage? It helps, for sure, but I moved here just because I love it, and I like to ride this stuff year-round instead of once a year.
Is there ever going to be a time where you can be in the position of your brother, where you don't have to worry about the risk of Rampage and you can just speak on a microphone?
I like to ride my bike. As long as I like to ride my bike, I'm going to keep riding it. He's still riding a bike, too. He's still one of the best in the world. He's just not competing.
I hope Tyler took that the right way. I meant no disrespect to Cam McCaul. I just think Cam has the greatest gig in biking, where he is at every major event and he has a job to do, but his job is not putting his life on the line. His job is talking about other people doing it. And the reason he is where he is because he's a bad motherfucker on his bike. At this point, I am going to jump into my second set of sponsors. And the brand I want to talk about is Spy Optic. They're a brand that I'm so happy to have involved with the show because not only do they have an incredible collection of sunglasses, but it's time to think winter. And Spy has been supporting all things snow since they started 25 years ago. Now, they have rad signature collections, game-changing technologies. The Ace EC really is game-changing. 3 lenses built into one, it's future shit. And all their goggles have the Happy Lens, which really sets Spy apart from everyone else. And that's a big reason why you should be wearing Spy. The biggest reason to me that you should wear them is that Spy's goggles look better than everyone else's. I always think the other brands will catch up and fit and finish, but they don't. Spy's look better and you will look better wearing them. For listening to the podcast, I'm going to make it easier than ever for you to get a pair of Spy sunglasses or goggles. All you need to do is head over to spyoptic.com, do your shopping, and when you check out, you'll get 20% off when you enter the code TPM, the number 20, all one word, and you're done. You're supporting the show, and you're going to look better than you ever have before. My final sponsor is the 10 Barrel Brewery out of Bend, Oregon. They have been brewing my favorite Northwest beer since 2006. And they have a couple of new flavors that I'm going to tell you about. The first is Profuse Juice, a hazy IPA that kind of reminds me of Out of Office. It's got a great flavor and a percentage of sales benefit the Surfrider Foundation. The second beer, Smash, is a lighter wheat ale that I drank a ton of while I was in Bend. You can't go wrong with either of these beers, and they're great to drink outside. And 10 Barrel is all about drinking beer outside and supporting all things snow. You can find out a lot more about the company and the beer over at Fully Aligned. That's 10 Barrel's brand new podcast that lets you peek behind the curtain over at 10 Barrel. Next time you're at the store, buy some 10 Barrel and support the brand that really makes a difference in the sports we love, the 10 Barrel Brewery. Those are my sponsors. So I'm walking around the event area looking for my last interview of the day, and I see Brandon Semenuk. Last year I talked to Brandon and I kind of made a fool of myself. I walked up to him and was like, hey, you crashed on your runs. What do you think of that? He looked at me like I was an idiot and I felt like an idiot. I put it in the podcast regardless. This year, it did go a little better than last year. I did get a couple minutes in with Brandon Semenuk. I asked a couple real questions before I bring up money, which I do sometimes. And that's always a hit or miss with people. Coming here from Whistler, and is it different here? Is it something you need to get used to when you're riding the dirt here compared to the shit you're used to in Whistler?
100%, yeah. Like, Utah's sandy, dry, desert, whereas at home it's forest with roots and rock, so it's completely different. And obviously much drier here, as home's typically pretty wet.
Where you're from, it's known as like the skiing, snowboarding capital of the world. And when I think of that, I think of people like Tanner Hall and people, how they talk about his style that he has and how everybody emulates it. They talk about you like that as well, where people emulate your style. Does that ever get old or annoying when you hear people say that?
I don't really know about that. Obviously, I look up to people and there's things that I think that they do is cool. So everyone has people that inspire them. So if I do that to someone else, then that's great. Yeah, I think it's cool.
The way you ride, there's so many nuances to it, like the edits you put out recently. There's just so much to see in it. When you're in a judged run here, does some of that get lost in the judging where they just don't see everything you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, that can be the case a lot of times. Obviously, it's completely different than what we're filming also. Stuff that's practiced all the time, whereas filming, it's trying to do new things and push things further. But, here we've got goals set in mind, and that's what we work towards. But yeah, a lot of the time, especially here, since we're jumping valley to valley, and there's like lots of cliff bands. You can't see everything the person's doing the whole way down.
Last year you didn't nail your line. This year, do you change it up, or are you just trying to dial it in and do it a little different?
Well, we had 8 dig days, so we definitely changed some stuff up and tried to make it a little better. But it's looking good. Should be sweet.
My last question that I'll bother you with right here. With big money being on the line, does that change your trick selection and line selection going for the win, or does that not even come into it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not here for the money. I like to ride my bike, and I've been doing this event for a long time, so yeah, just here to do my thing.
Solid day one at Rampage for me, in my opinion. And it's time for me to head back to St. George, wash all the dirt off my body, grab a burger, and then it's time to get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be a big day. I get up at 7, get the shitty hotel breakfast, and I'm off to Virgin, Utah again for day 2 of Rampage, or day 2 of my Rampage experience, but event day. I get to the venue and I realize today is going to be a challenging day to get any interviews with athletes. They're focused on the event. They were really focused on the event yesterday too, but I was able to bother them for a couple of minutes of their time. Today, I'm not even going to try to do that. That would be rude. These guys are focused on the biggest event of their life this year, and the last thing they want to do is talk to me. The only chance I would get time with them is after the event, but to tell you the truth, I'm not going to make it till the end of the event. My flight is out of Vegas at 9 o'clock, and I'm not going to miss my flight, so I'm probably going to miss the last run or two of Rampage, but I'm willing to live with that. So what's my plan? I'm not really sure, but the cards are stacked against me. My media credential gets me nowhere, and while I'm not afraid to duck ropes, I don't think ducking ropes is going to get me access to any better interviews than I can do on foot looking around the venue. As I'm thinking this, you hear a helicopter above our heads. We've been on a wind hold for about an hour, but everything's calmed down. And the MC at the event lets us know that Andy Farrington, another person who's been on the podcast and a guy who's arguably the best wingsuit pilot in the world, is going to fly in to kick off Rampage. It is amazing to see how close Andy gets to the cliffs, and the lift he's able to provide with his wingsuit makes the crowd go wild. About 10 minutes after Andy lands, I bump into none other than Andy Farrington.
Could you hear the crowd freak out when you're up that high?
Oh yeah, you could hear them the whole time, even flying under the wingsuit. And then once I opened up the parachute, it really just erupted, and they're fired up. They're having a good time out there.
Does the wind affect you when you're jumping out of the helicopter?
When you're jumping out of a helicopter, it doesn't affect you too much, because when you're coming into kind of the line, like flying down the course, you're doing 120, 150 miles per hour. So 10 mile per hour wind doesn't really affect you too much.
Have you ever been to one of these before?
This is maiden voyage, and I got to check it out from a bird's eye view.
Have you ever seen it on the internet?
Believe it or not, I do have the internet, and I have checked it out, and it's one of the hardest core, coolest events I've seen.
Cool. Well, thank you. Have a great time while you're here. Michelle Parker's also here. Parker, you've been here a bunch of times, right?
Yeah, I think like 5 or 6 years. It's a must do.
And when you look at events in all the action sports landscape, because you've seen a lot of it with just the opportunities you've had, is this the top of the pyramid?
I think so. For me, it's my favorite live spectator event, and to watch it live later on, like I just watch it twice basically.
What else compares to it? If you were to rank your top 3 events in your life that you've been to, what are they?
I don't know as far as events go, but I would compare it to skiing in Alaska.
Okay.
Like big mountain riding. Yeah.
And Will, I've asked a bunch of skiers this before. If you were to show up at a venue and the event organizers were like, all right, here's the zone, here are some shovels, you have a week to build, what would you say?
I don't know. It's kind of about the camaraderie here. Like they have a dig team. Everyone's got their team out there digging away, working for like a week straight and dialing it all in. So that's kind of part of the event.
So from one skier that I used to manage to another, the next person I bump into has one of the more unique names here. Bienvenito has a great one as well. But I bumped into Colin Collins.
You got a call yesterday saying you got a free ticket and you should come to Rampage. Where were you?
I was at home in Sun Valley. I was actually at work building houses. And yeah, I love this event. Watch it religiously live every year, but I've never been to it. And yeah, I had to jump on that opportunity.
And seeing the features in person for the first time, is it a lot gnarlier than what you expected from seeing it on the internet before?
Yeah, definitely. It puts it in perspective. It's huge. It's absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, these guys are some of the raddest athletes ever. They're crazy.
Who are you looking forward to see ride today? If you had to pick out a couple people that you're stoked to see in person, who would they be?
Ethan Nell is definitely one of them. He ripped last year, and I'm a big fan. You know, Brandon Semenuk for sure. Graham Agassi, yeah.
Always good to see old friends, and if this venue was ever filled in with snow, Colin Collins would tee it off in here. But it's not snow, it's dirt, and it's not fully his element. Someone whose element is fully dirt, but is still scared shitless of this event, is Mike Hucker Clark.
Mike just offered me a bite of his cookie. I'm not going to take it, but...
You don't want my melted chocolate?
No, thank you. But you were here in a different respect this year. Last year I saw you here and you were having a good time representing Red Bull. But this year you're representing @Caffeine on Instagram, I think is what they're called. And what the hell is that?
Yeah, so Caffeine is a new social media platform that's totally different than all the others. And I'm basically hosting Redbull Rampage this year through their channel to their audience. And they're really big in the gaming world and rap world, music industry, all that stuff. So they have a totally different audience than I am lucky enough to be interviewing different people coming here, different athletes. Jamie O'Brien was just on it for like an hour with me. And it's cool just picking his brain because this is the exact opposite of what he does and hearing his thoughts of what he thinks going on. And, you know, it's so out of this world for him. And it's so cool to see that perspective from another athlete. And then we have different athletes. Michelle Parker's out here. Tyler Bierman, the FMX rider, is here. And I'm going to be interviewing all of them throughout the course of the day.
So a different experience here for you. And when you look at the course, a little bit different from what you do. On the bottom, the dirt jumps, you're familiar with those.
Oh,
but
yeah.
What would you think if you were dropped off on the top of this course and they were like, Hucker, it's all you?
I think I'd be shitting bricks. Am I allowed to cuss? Sorry.
You're allowed to cuss as much as you want.
Frick. No. Yeah, man, I would be terrified being dropped off up there. Even the bottom stuff, like, the bottom stuff looks totally fun. Some of the step downs going into it's crazy. You're a legend, Tyler. It looks super fun, but that stuff up top is so out of my element. I think definitely with, like, the proper preparation and training, anything's possible, but I would never claim that ever.
And when you look at the events in mountain biking now, they've almost stolen the thunder from BMX, where you used to have a lot of big events. Now it's only the X Games. Is that frustrating?
Yeah, it is pretty frustrating. We used to have all these really cool events back in the day, and they've just kind of dwindled away, but at the same time, mountain biking's taken off, especially with the slope style stuff. So back in the day, we used to have like Red Bull Dreamline, Red Bull Elevation, Cam White's Hillside Dirt Jam, and those were all like the big dirt jump events, and those are all gone now. But I mean, rightfully so, mountain biking's just kind of taken over. They're doing all of our tricks plus more on way cooler setups. So it's really hard to find awesome setups like that nowadays.
Well, the awesome setup that we are at Red Bull Rampage is about to start. I linked up with the spy crew. I broke out my binoculars and a couple 10 barrels, and we sat back and watched the action, and it was incredible. My words aren't going to do it justice, but Red Bull put together some crazy cameras on cables and a bunch of things that have never been done before to create a unique experience for the viewer at home. So you can go to any of Red Bull's social media channels and check out all of the runs at Rampage. The highlights of round one for me were Brandog's run and Brandon Semenuk's run. Brandon's run looked hard to beat, and when he landed it, one of the guys in the crew that I was with looked over at us and he's like, the contest is over. But there were still a lot of runs left, and when the end of round one was done, I went looking for some more interviews, and I came upon an absolute legend in mountain biking. He's also a legend in snowboarding as well, although many people don't know about him, but he's got a deep, deep history in snowboarding, as well as being one of the godfathers of freeride, Brett Tippie.
Brett, you've been here for how long?
Oh, I've been out here for about 6 days, doing a little bit of filming, and then we did a little course preview for Pink Bike, and walked all the lines, talked to every rider, interviewed them, and measured a bunch of the biggest drops, and just been like dehydrating as best as possible out here in the desert.
What are the biggest drops that you're able to measure?
The biggest drop on the hill is one that Simon Godzik and Kyle Strader hitting on the left side of the Price is Right, and it's 69 feet diagonal minimum 69 feet. Second biggest drop is T-Max, the Triple Dipper he calls it, after a food menu off of Chili's, because he used all the names for the margaritas. Except there's one left, Tropical Thunder, and he's not calling it Tropical Thunder, he said. So the Triple Dipper is 65 feet. Sorgi and Aggie are hitting 62 feet off the middle right of the Price is Right. I believe the bottom drop, the Republican, I think is 46 feet minimum, but they're dropping about 53. And the new drop that Emil Johansson, Reed Boggs, and Reese Walsh made on the far rider's left measured out at 54 to minimum to make it. So those are the biggest ones, I think, out there.
When I look at the first runs, I mean, there's two styles of runs. There's Fairclaws and everybody else's, it seems like, where his is more big mountain style. There's a lot more tricks in other people's lines. Is it going to be hard for him to ever win a contest like this, doing a big mountain line without the big tricks? Although he had the huge flip in there. I love the way he rides, but it doesn't seem like that will win a contest like this.
Yeah, you've got guys out there, with a little more manicured lines than his and throwing more tricks and like bigger variations on tricks. His was awesome. He had 2 flips in there, but one was over the, 48-foot canyon gap, put a big 5-foot lip on it. So he really, upped the ante. But, it's tough to beat guys that are throwing a bunch of big tricks off of 50-footers as well, So I love his style too, and I'm stoked to see him up in third after the first run, though. So that's cool. That's a lot better than he got judged last year.
Cool. Well, thank you for your time. Have a great event.
Right on. Enjoy Rampage and keep on rocking, pal moving.
The second I stopped recording, Tippie looked at my shirt and said, "What's going on with your shirt?" I looked down. He reached up and hit me in the face like your dad would do. He is the king of dad jokes. He did not disappoint. What was disappointing for me was I only had an hour and a half left at Rampage. There were about 15 more runs on the schedule. I was only going to catch about 3 or 4 more before I headed to the airport. That was a bummer, but that's okay. I can live with it. And you know what? I saw the winning run. Brandon Semenuk's first run was the one that took Rampage this year, and the rest of the podium was filled out by Canadians. Tom van Steenbergen got third, and last year's winner, Brett Rheeder, took second place. So 3 Canadians, 1 podium, and an amazing event altogether. For me, it was time to head out of the venue, get in the car, drive to Vegas. I got to Vegas with about 30 minutes before I needed to go to the airport, so I could have seen a couple more runs. But in true Rampage fashion, not everyone took second runs. I only missed out on 5 runs, I believe it was, so not that big of a deal. What I did do was I connected with an old friend, former pro skier Frank Raymond. He is a Canadian who is now living in the States in Las Vegas. We met up, had a beer. I got on the plane, landed in Seattle at midnight, and was in bed by 1 a.m. Rampage, again, did not disappoint. If you have never been to this event, whether you bike or not, this is one of those bucket list events for action sports, or sports in general. While the prize money and the spotlight and everything else isn't as big as your Super Bowls in other sports, when you come to this event and you feel the energy and you see what the athletes are putting into their lines and then you see them let it all hang loose on course, it is mind-blowing. It won't change your life, but you will say, holy shit. I highly recommend checking out Rampage in the future. That's the podcast for this week. At this point, I want to thank you for listening and ask you to review me on whatever platform you listen to me on. I also want to encourage you to reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns. I have an email. It's mike@thepowellmovement, and I will get back to you. Finally, I need to thank my sponsors who make this thing happen. They are Evo, Stanley, Spy Optic, and the 10 Barrel Brewery. Have a great week, everyone.